The religious landscape of Israeli communities presents a complex and nuanced reality that often differs significantly from the religious frameworks familiar to immigrants from other countries. Understanding these distinctions is crucial for making informed community choices, as religious affiliation in Israel extends far beyond personal worship practices to encompass education systems, municipal services, social networks, and daily community life in ways that may be unfamiliar to newcomers. The terminology used to describe religious observance levels and community characteristics carries specific meanings within Israeli society that don't always translate directly from diaspora Jewish communities or other religious contexts. The Israeli religious spectrum operates along different lines than what many immigrants expect, particularly those coming from countries where religious observance is primarily a private matter. In Israel, religious affiliation significantly influences which schools your children attend, which rabbinical authorities govern life cycle events, how municipal services operate on Shabbat and holidays, and which social and cultural activities are available within your community. These practical implications make understanding religious community dynamics essential for ensuring that your chosen location aligns with your family's needs and comfort level. The secular sector in Israel, known as Hailoni, represents a substantial portion of the population but encompasses a wide range of attitudes toward Jewish tradition and religious practice. Many secular Israelis maintain cultural connections to Jewish traditions, celebrating holidays and life cycle events while not observing daily religious practices. Secular communities often provide vibrant cultural life with restaurants, entertainment venues, and public transportation operating on Shabbat, though the degree of this varies significantly between different cities and neighborhoods. Some secular areas maintain strong Jewish cultural identity, while others embrace more international cosmopolitan lifestyles that may feel familiar to immigrants from major metropolitan areas abroad. However, even within secular communities, the influence of religious considerations remains present in ways that might surprise newcomers. Many secular Israelis expect basic respect for Jewish holidays and Shabbat, even if they don't personally observe these practices. School calendars follow Jewish holidays. Many businesses close or reduce hours during major religious periods, and cultural events often incorporate Jewish themes and references. Understanding this cultural backdrop helps immigrants navigate social expectations and community norms, even in predominantly secular areas. The traditional sector, known as Masorti in Hebrew, but distinct from the conservative movement called Masorti in Israel, represents a significant middle ground that may not have clear parallels in diaspora communities. Traditional Israelis often observe some religious practices while maintaining flexible approaches to others, creating communities that blend religious and secular elements in unique ways. These communities might feature synagogues alongside restaurants that operate on Shabbat, households that keep kosher but drive on Shabbat, or families that observe major holidays while maintaining secular lifestyles during the week. Traditional communities can provide excellent middle ground options for families seeking Jewish cultural connection without strict religious observance requirements. However, the boundaries and expectations within traditional communities can be unclear to newcomers, requiring time and experience to understand local norms and practices. Some traditional communities lean more toward religious observance, while others maintain primarily cultural connections to Jewish practice. Religious Zionist communities, often called Dati Leumi, represent a modern Orthodox approach that combines strict religious observance with full participation in Israeli society, military service, and secular education. These communities typically feature strong commitment to both Jewish law and Zionist ideology, creating environments where religious practice supports rather than conflicts with Israeli citizenship and modern life. Religious Zionist communities often provide excellent educational options that combine religious studies with strong secular curricula, preparing students for university education and professional careers while maintaining religious observance. The lifestyle in religious Zionist communities typically includes strict kashrut observance, Shabbat observance that affects community activities and transportation options, and social networks centered around synagogue and religious community life. However, these communities also embrace modern technology, higher education, professional careers, and active participation in Israeli cultural and political life. For religious families seeking to maintain observance while integrating into Israeli society, these communities often provide ideal environments. Ultra-Orthodox communities, known as Haredi, maintain the most traditional religious lifestyles and often the most separation from broader Israeli society. These communities prioritize intensive religious study, strict observance of Jewish law, and preservation of traditional religious culture. Within the ultra-Orthodox world, significant distinctions exist between different groups, including Ashkenazi and Sephardic communities, various Hasidic sects, and Lithuanian-style yeshiva communities, each with distinct customs, leadership structures, and community characteristics. Living in ultra-Orthodox communities requires understanding and accepting extensive religious requirements that govern daily life, including strict dress codes, gender separation in many contexts, limitations on secular entertainment and media, and community expectations for religious study and observance. These communities often provide strong social support networks, excellent religious education, and deep spiritual environments, but they may also limit exposure to broader Israeli society and secular culture. The role of rabbinical authority in Israeli communities differs significantly from diaspora patterns, as Israel's chief rabbinate system affects civil matters including marriage, divorce, and conversion in ways that impact all citizens regardless of personal religious observance. Understanding how rabbinical authority functions within your chosen community affects access to religious services, community decision-making processes, and social dynamics. Some communities work closely with local rabbinical authorities, while others maintain more autonomous approaches to religious matters. Educational considerations within religious communities extend beyond religious instruction to encompass fundamental approaches to learning, cultural values, and preparation for adult life. Religious educational systems in Israel vary dramatically in their balance between religious and secular studies, their preparation for higher education and military service, and their integration with broader Israeli society. Understanding these differences is crucial for families with children, as educational choices made during childhood significantly impact future opportunities and social connections. The kashrut standards and Shabbat observance levels within communities affect practical daily life in numerous ways. Some communities maintain strict kashrut supervision that affects which businesses can operate and what products are available locally. Shabbat observance levels influence public transportation availability, entertainment options, and community activity schedules. Even families who don't personally maintain strict observance may find their choices limited by community standards and available services. Women's roles and gender dynamics vary significantly between different religious communities, affecting everything from employment opportunities and educational options to social activities and community leadership roles. Understanding these dynamics is particularly important for families with daughters or for women considering community involvement and career development. Some religious communities maintain traditional gender roles while others embrace more egalitarian approaches within religious frameworks. Conversion and Jewish status questions take on heightened significance in Israeli communities, as these determinations affect marriage options, community acceptance, and religious services access. Different communities maintain varying approaches to conversion recognition and Jewish status questions that can significantly impact families with complex Jewish backgrounds or those considering conversion. The relationship between religious observance and military service creates unique dynamics within Israeli religious communities. Religious Zionist communities typically emphasize military service as both religious and civic duty, often featuring special military preparation programs and strong support for serving community members. Ultra-Orthodox communities traditionally seek military service exemptions for full-time religious students, creating different community cultures and relationships with broader Israeli society. Holiday observance and community celebrations reflect the specific religious character of different areas, affecting cultural life, business operations, and social expectations throughout the year. Some communities maintain elaborate holiday celebrations that involve entire neighborhoods, while others observe holidays more privately. Understanding these patterns helps newcomers integrate into community life and plan their own observance and participation. Interfaith and mixed observance families face particular challenges in navigating Israeli religious community dynamics. as the clear religious categories that define many communities may not accommodate complex family situations. Some communities prove more welcoming and flexible regarding mixed religious backgrounds, while others maintain stricter boundaries that may affect family comfort and acceptance. The evolution of religious identity often occurs differently in Israeli communities than in diaspora settings, as the concentrated Jewish environment and religious secular interactions create unique pressures and opportunities for spiritual development. Many immigrants find their religious observance levels changing in response to community influences, available opportunities, and the distinct spiritual atmosphere of living in Israel. Economic considerations intersect with religious community choice in important ways, as strict kashrut requirements, private religious education costs, and reduced earning opportunities due to Shabbat observance can significantly impact family budgets. Some religious communities provide economic support networks and business opportunities that help offset these costs, while others may strain family finances without providing compensating support systems. The social expectations and community involvement levels in religious communities often exceed what many immigrants expect, requiring active participation in community institutions, charitable activities, and religious observances that become central to social life. Understanding these expectations helps families prepare for the level of community engagement required for successful integration and social acceptance. Ultimately, choosing a community based on religious considerations requires honest assessment of personal observance levels, family religious goals, and comfort with various community expectations and limitations. The religious framework of your chosen community will significantly impact daily life, social connections, educational options, and long-term spiritual development in ways that extend far beyond weekend worship attendance. Taking time to understand these nuances and visiting communities during different times and seasons helps ensure that religious considerations support, rather than complicate, your family's successful integration into Israeli life.